I know I'm going to piss off a lot of people with this one. But New York City Council advances a bid that could yank monuments honoring Washington, Jefferson, and Columbus from government buildings and government parks. There are a lot of people who their first reaction to this is going to be, you're trying to erase history. It is not erasing history. I don't understand fully why that is the first thing that they jump to. Well, actually, I do. It's because of fear. You see, if you start out with a big fear statement of you're trying to erase history, then that means that you're trying to ignore it, trying to make it seem like it doesn't exist anymore. That is not what's going on here. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been to Germany? Because if you have, then one thing that you would notice is that there are no statues of Adolf Hitler anywhere in Germany. You know why there are no statues of Hitler or Rommel throughout Germany? It's because they realized that those were very immoral men. Now, did they erase them out of their history? No. If you go to museums, if you go to the libraries, you can still find information about those individuals because in their mindset, they are to be studied as part of their history, but not glorified with statues and monuments all around the city and all around the country. When you go to France, although there are still a few, they have removed the majority of the statues of Napoleon. When I was in Iraq, we removed the statues of Saddam Hussein. There are many places that you can go and they will have removed statues of certain people like Stalin and Lenin in these countries where the brutality of the person supersedes the benefits that the person may have brought. Now, what is one of the main differences between those people and these so-called founding fathers? Those guys lost. This is why you see so many Confederate things going down, because they lost. We still have that piece of shit on Stone Mountain. But for the most part, if you lose, then you lose your statues. You're not honored. The Daughters of Confederacy, they played a different game and they got a lot of those statues erected, but many are starting to come down. So why not these guys? George Washington, slave owner. Thomas Jefferson, slave owner. Benjamin Franklin, slave owner. Madison, slave owner. Ulysses S. Grant, slave owner. Christopher Columbus, I don't even need to go into the details of that guy. We know how horrific of a person that this guy was. But I'm not saying that they should be erased from history, but they should only be found in our history books. They should only be found in museums. They should only be found in libraries. They should not be honored in our city streets in today's age where you are trying to call yourself saying that you want people to feel as if we are unified in this country. How do you expect me to feel unified when you surround me by those who owned my family? How do you expect me to feel unified when you would honor somebody like that, like Abraham Lincoln, instead of honoring Harriet Beecher Stowe? As a matter of fact, Lincoln went so far as to say that Harriet Beecher Stowe did more for the emancipation of black people, did more for the abolitionary movement than the Civil War ever did. How about let's put her on the money? How about let's put Harriet Tubman on the money? There are many different Americans who have done wonderful things in this country who do not have this horrific history of immorality that could be a representation of what this country is and what this country should be. You see, as we go through history, there will come a time where Washington and Jefferson will be forgotten. They won't be on the money anymore. Why not have people on the money, the statues of people who have a clean history, who do not have this give and take aspect to them? Our culture, supposedly, our mentality, supposedly, our morality, supposedly have went far beyond what their morality was of that day. I do not care that they were a man of their age, a man of their era. The same can be said for Idi Amin. The same can be said for Adolf Hitler. The same can be said for Genghis Khan. Yet these people are not honored in their own countries. And for some of those countries where they are still somewhat honored, there is a great divide that is happening in Uganda, in France, and in China, because they recognize that these people were not good people in history and should not be honored continuously. They should be studied. You're not losing your history just because a statue comes down. Most of you can drive past statues, walk past statues, and you don't even know who it is. So take them down. Put them in a museum. Put them near with a plaque or a description of who they were and what they accomplished and the travesties that they also had in their lives. Put them in the history books where they belong, in the libraries where they belong. Where they do not belong is to be glorified. They do not belong. If those dudes on Stone Mountain do not need to be glorified according to American standard, then nor does George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. The only reason you'll give the separation because you'll say those guys tried to succeed. They were treasonous. And they lost. George Washington was treasonous. But you know what those guys on that statue of Stone Mountain have in common with those guys? They all own slaves. They all own slaves. And if you think that that's excusable, then you have a serious morality problem. But you have a great day. Remember always, you got to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.